Hello, we are live. Welcome to Source Talks Live. And if we haven't met yet, I'm Katja and I'm a vocal and artist coach, a mindset, life and business coach for artists, performing artists and creative entrepreneurs. And many of them are singers, singer-songwriters and voice teachers because musicians, like I have been working a lot as a musician and singing teacher and singer in the theater world. And I help these artists to find and amplify their authentic voice and expression and to transform mindset and beliefs that are holding them back and help them build what I call aligned and sustainable artist lives and businesses. So an artist business is really just a fancy word for how your work shows up in the world. And I see that some people are joining already. Hi, I see Josie. I see some new people. That's great. Jack Flower Music. And it's so great to have you here tonight. Maybe it's morning at your end. So these Source Talk lives are really an extension of what started over on my YouTube channel. And over this month of November, I'm gonna be showing up live quite a lot because I have some things that I want to share with you around a topic that I call aligned artistry. So it has all to do with this finding alignment and finding authenticity and finding sustainability. So in today's live, I want to tell you about one of the biggest inner stumbling blocks that I see artists and creative entrepreneurs struggle with on this path towards authenticity and towards creative expression. It might be voice goals if you're a singer. It might be your path towards finding alignment, finding creative flow, and also in their artist lives and careers and business goals. So sometimes blocks are outer blocks and sometimes they're inner blocks, but as we know, what we see in the outside world and what we experience in the outside world is really a reflection on what is going on the inside. I really strongly believe that we need to work on the inside in order to change things on the outside. And of course, sometimes we need systems and strategies, and that is another thing that I help artists with. But these systems and strategies can only work so far unless we have really worked on the inside too. So you might have seen I gave this live stream the topic acceptance, so what it is, what it isn't, and how it can transform you. And that might sound like a very spiritual look on the thing. And it is. So this tool that I want to give you today, or the topic, really that inner stumbling block, has all got to do with acceptance. So many times as you set out on a path towards an exciting goal and you want to achieve something. So maybe it's a voice goal if you're a singer, or maybe it's an artist goal. An artistic goal like releasing an album or a single, or reaching a specific milestone, an artistic milestone. Maybe it's a life and a career or life and business goal. Like so many of the artists that I coach are also, next to being artists, they are also teaching. And many times the goals that they set out on achieving have to do with achieving like a balance in artistic work versus teaching and so on. or it could be a very practical goal, like a financial goal or a personal life goal. And many times when we set out on this quest towards that goal, you see the goal in front of you, and you think, okay, that's where I want to go. This is what I want to achieve. And then you see where you are at right now. Maybe you even look back into the past. And what tends to happen is you get frustrated. You get angry with yourself, or you get impatient and all of that stuff. Does this resonate? I would love to hear that. So if it resonates, give me a sign. So I would not be talking about or feel compelled and called to talking about this unless I would have had so much trouble in this department in my own artist life. And also unless this topic wouldn't have been one of these topics that tends to come up so often. So what happens then is you're either living in the future or in the past, right? So what we need to do instead is to practice acceptance. And that is the topic of today's live stream. Yes, Joyce is writing, I feel impatient. Yes. So I was, back in the days when I was a little child, still going for my piano lessons and stuff like that, I was the most impatient learner there was, because I was very quick learning things. And then when I got these moments when things got difficult or it didn't go at the pace that I wanted, I got super impatient. So my mom told me so many stories about me throwing my piano books down the drain, into the ditch, and so on. So that is I'm not a patient person somewhere deep inside. So that has been something I have had to practice a lot. So if we're going into the topic of acceptance, because acceptance really is the practice that we need to learn and actually practice. So I like to see acceptance as a verb. It's something that we need to actively be doing and actively be practicing throughout our artist lives. So, and the ones among you that know my work and have been following me for a while, my stories, or maybe you've worked with me, you already know that I like to draw kind of lines between different departments in our lives. So these things really apply to everything, from learning vocal techniques, because I'm a vocal technique teacher, right? So I see this happening when we learn. This has to do with when we set out to look for our signature sound, for our artistic expression, when we work on our projects, when we set business goals for our artist business, and when we look for balance in our artist lives. So acceptance really is one of the key practices that we need to learn as artists and human beings. Now, what acceptance is not, it does not mean accepting something, having acceptance. It does not mean you give up and resign. So it does not mean that you kind of become passive in any way and think whatever, or what's the use, because, I guess I just have to accept this. That's not what it is about at all. It's also not about agreeing with something or a situation or someone that doesn't work for you, a situation that doesn't work for you. It's not about accepting toxic situations, for instance. It's not about sort of like giving in and saying like, okay, I guess I have to accept this situation and just be here. So what is acceptance then? It just simply means, I use the word simply, but it's not simple because we human beings are very wired to live either in the past or in the future. But what acceptance simply means is, if I may use the word simply, is it means that we give up resistance. So when we resist something, like a situation or the speed at which we learn something, or, you know, the speed at which our goals are, you know, moving forward, the changes that we see in our outer environment, in our artists' lives and businesses, if it's not going at the speed that we want, or if we're in a situation that we think, this just really doesn't, this is not where I want to be. When we resist that, whatever it is, we create mental energy, emotional energy, and tension around that situation that is basically holding you. It's like energy that is between you and the thing that you want to see happen, that becomes a block and that becomes a drain. Hi, Henrikje, so nice that you could join. So does that make sense for you? Can you imagine that, or kind of like visualize how that resistance and the feeling frustrated about that situation, whatever it is, or feeling like it doesn't go at the pace that you want to go at, or being like, being angry and frustrated about that situation where you're in, how that actually is working against you. It's draining, it's taking up a lot of energy, because we're using a lot of energy, mental energy, when we resist something, to sort of like mull on it. I'm not even sure that is an English word because I'm not a native speaker. So when we're like in our head, like thinking constantly about where we would like to be, or we are sort of like dwelling on the past, and we are like dwelling on our past issues and past things that happened and past traumas and so on. So if we're too much in the past, dwelling on the past, or if we're too much anticipating things and living constantly in a future vision, we can't see what is happening we're not accepting what is happening right here and now. And that is creating resistance. And this resistance energy is super draining. So if you think about also like how it is in with situations where you are, for instance, like you're very, very like physically tired, and your whole energy, like your physical energy, is saying, I can't work this fast, or I can't do this many things this week. I better rest. So actually, this is something that often comes up in coaching, is like, because life is filled with stuff, and then you set goals, and then maybe you hit a week where you're like tired and you need to rest. And then your mental energy and your emotional energy is resisting that tiredness and thinking, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And you're feeling even guilty perhaps for not having done your practice or your assignments or whatever it is that you set up for yourself to do. And this tension that it creates, that is draining you even more than if you would accept that situation, that you are tired, and work with that energy and allow that resistance energy to flow through you, and really like respect where you are at. because creativity and our energy in terms of like physical energy, it has ebbs and flows. So if we're pushing through and not accepting where we are at energetically, and even like it could be like a voice thing. If you're a singer and you're not accepting that you are, for instance, needing vocal rest, like maybe you literally have a situation where you like would benefit from having vocal rest, but you're not accepting the situation and you're just pushing through, then that does not only create drain and tension, but it literally can result in injuries, in burnout, and so on. So this is why acceptance, although acceptance as a spiritual practice is probably one of the biggest, most difficult spiritual and personal practices there are, but it's not something like woo out there. It's something that is super, super concrete and super important for us artists because it can have implications on your health even. Okay, so there's a lot of new people joining. I would love to hear how this is resonating in you. Do you recognize in yourself like tendencies to push through when you're actually tired, or to resist a specific situation where you're at in your learning curve and so on? So let me know. So if we recap for now, so acceptance does not mean like giving up. Acceptance doesn't mean you're passive. Acceptance does not mean you accept that you sort of like allow or agree toxic situations to happen. What it simply does is you accept what is. And if you would like look at this from a bigger point of view, like for instance, being in a working situation where you are, for instance, in a project or cooperation that you feel is totally not working for you. Now, acceptance in that situation could mean that you accept, you see that, okay, this person cannot be changed, or this situation cannot be changed, which is like, that is allowing the energy to flow through. Because when you're not in acceptance, you're either trying to adapt yourself or you're trying to adapt somebody else and change those situations, right? By resisting what's happening. Does that make sense? So acceptance simply means you're giving up resistance and you are noticing what is happening, and you're noticing and being like right here, right now. Let's see. Josie writes, funny, I rested this afternoon and I hear the voice in my head saying, you just lost 4 hours. Kind of forcing myself to accept that I was tired and it's okay to do nothing, but it's hard. Yes, this is such a great example. So often when we are like giving into what is, like accepting what is, there's a voice in our head saying, like feeding guilt into us. And if we're listening to the guilt voice and we don't accept what is, in this case, we could actually go over our boundaries, over our energetic boundaries. And that could have health implications. So it's good. I'm really happy to see you rested this afternoon. So I want you to think about a situation in your artist life, in your artist career or business, or like even from a learning point of view. Like I know many of you who follow me are singers and musicians and performers. And if you reflect back and think about what are some situations that you recognize, like you've had a lot of resistance around accepting a specific situation or a pace at what you're moving with. What pops up for you? So moving on to what acceptance also then is. So acceptance is being in the now, being here, being now, seeing what is, so that you have, through that awareness, you can keep making aligned actions and moving through that situation. Before we move on to the next thing, hi Anna, so nice to see you. Anna is a wonderful, wonderful author, so you should check out her profile. So before we move on to the other thing that acceptance is and how that is relevant to your artist life, I want to share something, because I told you at the beginning of this live stream that acceptance, I wouldn't be talking about it unless I would have had to do so much work around this subject in so many areas of my artist life, whether like I told you about impatience in learning curves, but also about, the pace at which certain projects were moving, my energy, and so on. So one of the most wonderful things that I learned around this topic was from, I believe it's from Michael Beckwith. He's a spiritual teacher who, in a interview that I saw once years ago when I was in a really sticky situation, like moving with my head against the wall so many times, I saw an interview with Michael Beckwith, and in that interview he said something in the lines of, if this situation that I'm in right now would last for a lifetime, what in me would have to change so that I would have peace of mind? Or what quality would have to emerge in me so that I would have peace of mind? And hearing that, was one of the kind of the breakthroughs for me at that moment, because I was like, okay, I've been banging my head against this wall trying to move through, but maybe that wall isn't moving. So if the wall isn't moving, I need to change my strategy. Does that make sense? So that is something you can meditate on in those situations when you're feeling that there's a lot of resistance and a lot of tension between you, your situation, and where you want to move towards. And it can really be as simple as a specific voice goal. So if you're working on your voice and you have a specific goal about, it's always the high notes. It's always the high notes, and it's always about belting or whatever it is, isn't it? Belting that high note, or having faster riffs and runs in your voice, or accessing vibrato, and so on. So if it's not happening at the pace that you want it to happen, you notice how much tension you can create if you're constantly just getting stuck with oh, it's still not good, it's still not good, it's still not good. And then you try to sort of push through and use the same technique and so on. But instead of seeing it okay, I noticed that I'm somewhere where I'm not, I want to go somewhere, but I'm not there yet. And I may like be, applying the same technique, and, I get super frustrated about why it's not working. And that's only gonna build up energy that is actually working against you in your learning process. So instead of doing that, asking yourself this question, like, what quality in me would have to emerge if it would be like that I would not, like, so what would happen if I would not reach this note ever in my life? Okay. Oh crap. I could not maybe then get that, I could not sing that song because it has that target note. Okay, so are there other ways that I could go on about it? And then your brain can start imagining different solutions. So a different solution could be many things. It could be, in this case, about that note and about that technique goal. It could mean, hey, maybe I can invite some playfulness into it. Maybe I can invite experiencing my voice from a different angle, like working from a body-based thing instead of like working on a vocal technique kind of tool, and so on. Maybe your creativity would come up with, your musicianship would come up with a solution like, hey, I can adapt the melody at that part, and so on, instead of giving up and instead of becoming even more frustrated about not moving forward with your goal. So I want you to really start thinking about how you can apply this acceptance in small things in your artist life and then in the bigger things. Now, acceptance also means that you take full responsibility. This is why it's such a difficult practice, I think. So instead of placing the responsibility outside of yourself, or blaming anyone, including yourself, for not being at a specific place or in a specific moving along at a specific pace, it means that you take the full responsibility for what is happening. So taking full responsibility doesn't mean blaming, it doesn't mean judgment, it doesn't mean anything like that. It means just simply, again, that annoying word, simply, which is not simple. It means taking the responsibility and seeing what is in your power. How can you take the next step in this? So it's always so easy to say, yeah, that person gave me the wrong advice, or such and such is always getting the great opportunities because they look so and so, or whatever it is that we say when it doesn't go well in our artist lives. Or we even place the responsibility on some institute, right? Institution or some structure outside of ourselves, and we say like, it's the government's fault that is going bad in my artist life, right? But the thing is, as annoying as it is, the changes that we see around ourselves really have to start from the inside. So this is why acceptance, I think, is so difficult, because taking full responsibility for what is happening is, it's scary. It can feel super scary because it's so, it's so much easier to say it's outside of yourself. And when we take full responsibility, we might start worrying about like, do I have what it takes, and so on. Taking full responsibility does not mean you are on your own. That is good to remember. So taking full responsibility for what's happening in your artist life simply means you're giving up excuses and you're looking at the things that you want to change, and you're also like assessing the situation and seeing, okay, is this within my control? Good, I can do it. Is it outside of my own control? Then why waste energy on that? Because if I can't control it, and I keep putting all my energy in there and not accepting that I can't control it, and I want to change it, want to move faster, or I want to be at a different place. I want the person to behave differently in this cooperation. If we are doing that, we're putting the responsibility, placing it outside of ourselves, and that is creating tension because it's a situation that you cannot change. It's outside of your control. However, if you do realize, hey, it is within my control, you can assess the situation and see, do I have the skills that it takes to work through this? And if you don't, it's in your control and your power to, for instance, assemble a team around you so that you get the support and that you get the strategy and that you get the techniques and that you get the help with the systems that you need in order to move forward in your goals. So whether that is a voice goal, an artist project goal, an artist life goal, or a concrete goal in your artist business. Makes sense? So acceptance, shortly put, is one of the biggest cornerstones of finding and creating an aligned life as an artist. And it is one of the probably most difficult practices there are. So I want to leave you with a very concrete practice that you can do anywhere you are, and doesn't matter what you are like feeling. If you're having like a tension around a learning situation, if you're having a tension around a goal, and so on. So you can always use this. It's a super practical thing, and I want to do it with you, just here and now, live. So where you are, just make yourself comfortable, sitting on a chair, or maybe you're on your couch, maybe you're listening to this somewhere on a train. And if you're driving, don't do this exercise maybe with your full focus here, but you can do it when you have pulled over. So I want you to just be sensing the chair that you're sitting on, noting, where am I? Like, just take a little moment looking around. Okay. Here I am in this room. What does it look like? What's around me? And then take a couple of breaths, deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. And just really feel like, maybe there was some tension you were even holding on to in your breath. And then you can place a hand on your heart. Breathe in there. And as you're breathing, you can say out loud, you say, be still. You give yourself the command to be still. Be still. Be at peace. You can say, I am still. I am still and I'm at peace. And then you could say, I am here now. Or you could tell yourself, be here now. It's just like a reminder. So I like to use that being still, be still. It's like a reminder. When everything starts to go too fast and there's tension building up about whatever it is. It's like, okay, pause, breathe out. Place your hand on your heart. If you're in a place where you feel like, okay, I can't place my hand on my heart, people are going to think I'm weird. You can just breathe out and then say to yourself, be still, peace, and be at peace and be still. It's like you're giving yourself a command, a signal to just be still, whatever it is that is happening, no matter what is happening around you. And notice if that changes anything in your energy. So I noticed right now that I went like, just breathing out, so much tension let go, because I'm excited when I do these live streams. And that builds up tension too in your body, exciting tension and anticipation. And then just saying, be still, be at peace. And then say, be here now. I am here now. And then just see what changes in your energy. I see hearts. I see a lot of hearts. So it's a super simple tool. You can do it anywhere you're at. You can do it in the middle of a practice session. When you think, okay, this is not working. I'm getting frustrated. Because the moment when we get frustrated and the moment we get resistance in our system, resistant energy and negative energy, the moment that happens, we block the energy flow. And you can even use it when you are in sticky situations, in cooperations, in daily life. Like maybe it's your boss, or maybe it's a musician that you're working with that is seeming like they're from another planet. And why don't they get me, right? And they just sort of like, we all know these people who get under your skin. And when you feel that energy in your system and you're around that person, you can just give yourself a silent command to be still, be here now. I am here now. I am peaceful. I am still. I am right here, right now. And I'm accepting what is here. I'm just seeing that person in front of me. I'm just seeing what is unfolding in my learning situation, and so on. So rather than trying to push your way through and change it. So let me know how this resonates. And this is just one little simple tool to work with that practice of acceptance in a very concrete way. Now, I know that there's more to this. And there are more energetic tools that we could go into, and very practical tools, because like I said, acceptance also just means that we are shining a light on what is happening and what is unfolding. And then once we accept it, and we take responsibility, we can also start moving through it and create plans and systems and strategies on how to move through it. So if this is something that you feel that you would need more of in your artist life, and you are a singer, I welcome you to, at the beginning of next year, my program Sing from the Source is starting again, and I am taking applications for it at the end of this year. So Sing from the Source is a program where we work with the voice, but we also work with the mindset, with energy, and we get really clear on your artist identity and with storytelling tools so that you can, be communicating more from an authentic place. So this is for experienced singers. And if you are a creative entrepreneur and you're looking for more alignment and more flow and sustainability in your creative life, and you want to more like build projects that feel authentic and also really like let go of those blocks that you have, whether they are mindset blocks or belief blocks or energy blocks around situations in your artist life and business, then I have a membership community coming up with trainings and live coachings called Create from the Source. So you're going to hear more about those next year and over these final 2 months of this year. And if any of this feels like it's resonating in you and you would like to dive deeper, then you can always send me a DM and we can get together for a free call. So I offer a free call to get to know each other and also get started with strategy. So getting clarity about awareness about where you are at right now and what is it that is causing like a block. So sometimes it's a voice thing, a voice technique thing. Sometimes the blocks that you have to do with mindset or beliefs and patterns that are holding you back. Sometimes we need to look very concretely about the systems that you have in place to just manage your day-to-day flows in your artist life and in your artist business. And sometimes it means that we need to solidify the strategy because we can't move to our goals without a strategy. So I can be your coach and consultant and strategist. And then what is very important, I believe, is that we align everything in what I call the source. Because if we are just looking at techniques and strategies and systems and we don't ground it and align it, we're really moving from a place that is, it's more like based on what's happening on the outside than on the inside. And that way we're also not like really working with the energy that we have at specific moments in our lives. So that is the extra element in my coaching is you could say that it's a spiritual and energetic element, because we are spiritual, energetic beings living in a material world, and we need to work on all levels. That is why I have decided to use the word holistic for my coaching, and that is what holistic means for me, is that we work on all these different levels. So if this resonates, I would love for you to send me a DM. And if you have friends who you feel like they would really, really benefit from hearing this and working with this tool and this practice of acceptance that we worked with today and talked about today, or friends who are like really into advancing their artist life and artist businesses, and you feel that these source talks could be beneficial for them, then why don't you tag them in these comments and share this with them so they can find it too. Now, I will be back very soon with another live source talks. So we have a lot of them coming up this month because I've been on a break. And when I'm on a break, I get new ideas. So I have a lot to share with you. And I'm so happy you joined me tonight, and I will see you very soon in another source talk. Bye.